Friends, this story comes from a small American town called Raven Creek, and hidden beneath this town is a terrifying secret that locals still refuse to speak about after dark. According to reports, what happened there in 2017 was not just an accident. It was something far more horrifying, something people still cannot explain even today. And the most disturbing part is, many believe this story is completely real. Raven Creek looked like a normal, quiet town surrounded by forests and old buildings. But deep beneath the city, there was an abandoned subway tunnel that had been closed for years. Officially, the government claimed toxic gas leaks forced the tunnel to shut down. But the people living there believed something far darker was hidden underground. They said strange voices echoed from the tunnel every night, even when nobody was inside. A 28-year-old journalist named Ryan Cooper specialized in investigating paranormal events and unsolved mysteries. After discovering several disturbing online posts about Raven Creek Tunnel, he became obsessed with the story. Some people claimed visitors entered the tunnel and returned completely changed, while others simply vanished forever. Ryan assumed it was only another internet myth, so he decided to travel there himself and uncover the truth. Late one cold night, Ryan arrived in Raven Creek with his small camera crew. The moment they entered town, something immediately felt wrong. The streets were nearly empty, and the few people outside hurried back into their homes as if terrified of the coming night. Even the old hotel owner looked nervous when Ryan mentioned the tunnel. Before handing him the room key, the old man whispered, "If something inside the tunnel calls your name, do not turn around." Ryan laughed nervously, but his cameraman Jake looked genuinely frightened. Around 1:13 a.m., the group finally reached the abandoned subway entrance. Rust covered the old metal gate, and faded warning letters above it read, "No entry after dark." The tunnel beyond was completely dark. Only their flashlights reflected off the wet concrete walls as they slowly moved deeper underground. After several minutes, strange whispers began echoing through the darkness. At first, the voices sounded distant, but gradually they became clearer. Jake suddenly stopped walking. "Did you guys hear that?" he whispered nervously. Ryan turned the camera toward him. "Hear what?" Jake pointed deeper into the tunnel where a soft female voice echoed faintly through the darkness. "Help me." Ryan slowly stepped forward. His flashlight moved across the tunnel wall, and his heart nearly stopped. Dozens of bloody handprints covered the concrete, as if people had desperately tried to claw their way out. Then suddenly the third cameraman walking behind them disappeared completely. "Mike?" Ryan shouted. No answer came back. Only the sound of dripping water echoed through the tunnel. Then, far ahead in the darkness, someone appeared standing motionless in the middle of the tracks. The figure's face remained hidden in shadow, but its eyes glowed completely white. Jake stepped backward in terror. "We need to leave right now." But suddenly a loud metallic boom echoed behind them. The entrance gate had slammed shut on its own. Now they were trapped inside the tunnel. And at that exact moment, the man standing in the darkness slowly began walking toward them. The man slowly began walking toward them through the darkness. Every footstep echoed through the tunnel. Thud, thud, thud. Ryan pointed his flashlight directly at the figure's face, but strangely, the light could not fully reveal it. It was as if darkness itself covered the man's skin. Only his glowing white eyes remained visible. Jake trembled while stepping backward. "That thing isn't human!" Suddenly, every light inside the tunnel flickered on for a single second. What Ryan saw froze his blood instantly. Dozens of people were standing silently along both tunnel walls. Their bodies were soaked with filthy water, and their eyes glowed completely white. Every single one of them stared silently at Ryan and Jake. Then the lights instantly shut off again, and all of them vanished. Jake screamed in terror. "We're going to die down here." Ryan himself was terrified now, but he refused to stop recording. Then something horrifying appeared on the camera screen. Through the camera lens, the man standing in the darkness looked completely different. His face was now clearly visible, and it was Mike, the same cameraman who had disappeared only minutes earlier. Ryan's throat went dry. "That's impossible!" Suddenly, the figure sprinted toward them at terrifying speed. It moved nothing like a human being. Ryan and Jake immediately ran deeper into the tunnel, while heavy footsteps chased behind them, growing closer every second. The air suddenly became freezing cold. Then whispers echoed all around them through the darkness. "Don't look back! Run! It's coming!" Ryan kept running until suddenly he saw somebody standing farther ahead near the tracks. It was Mike. His body was completely soaked while he stood motionless, staring at the floor. "Mike!" Ryan shouted while running toward him. But the moment Mike slowly lifted his head, Ryan nearly stopped breathing. Mike's eyes were completely white and thick black liquid poured slowly from his mouth. Then, in a low, broken whisper, he spoke. "It's below us." Suddenly, the ground beneath the tracks began shaking violently. It felt as if something enormous was moving underneath the tunnel itself. Then a loud metallic screech echoed through the darkness. "Screech!" Jake backed away in panic. "What is happening?" Then from deep within the tunnel came the sound of an approaching subway train. But that was impossible. The railway had been abandoned for years. Yet slowly, two bright white headlights appeared in the darkness ahead. An old subway train was speeding directly toward them. But the most horrifying part was, there were no normal passengers inside. Behind every train window, only glowing white eyes stared outward into the darkness. Ryan and Jake jumped away from the tracks as the train thundered past them violently. Seconds later, the tunnel became silent again. Ryan slowly turned back toward the tracks, and his entire body shook in horror. Mike's body lay motionless on the rails, but his head was gone. Jake collapsed, vomiting in terror. Then suddenly, the old tunnel speaker system crackled to life overhead. "Next stop! Raven Creek." After the announcement, children's laughter echoed through the tunnel from every direction. Ryan finally understood this place was something far worse than a normal haunting. Then his flashlight suddenly landed on an old metal door near the far end of the tunnel. Painted above it in faded red letters were the words, "Maintenance level." Maybe it was an exit. Both of them immediately ran toward the door. But the moment Ryan touched the handle, a whisper suddenly echoed directly beside his ear. "You should never have come here." Ryan spun around instantly, but nobody stood behind him. Then Jake screamed louder than ever before. Ryan turned the flashlight upward, and his blood froze solid. Dozens of people were hanging upside down from the tunnel ceiling above them. Their glowing white eyes stared directly downward through the darkness. And slowly, they began crawling toward them. Plain text. The people hanging upside down from the tunnel ceiling slowly began crawling downward. Their arms and legs twisted unnaturally like giant spiders, while their glowing white eyes stared directly at Ryan and Jake through the darkness. Jake stumbled backward in terror. "Ryan, open the door! Now!" Ryan desperately twisted the metal handle, but the door would not move. Suddenly, one of the hanging creatures lowered itself directly in front of Jake. Its face was torn open while its neck bent sideways at an impossible angle. Then it smiled slowly and whispered, "Why did you come down here?" Jake screamed and collapsed backward onto the floor. At that exact moment, every light inside the tunnel began flickering violently. With every flash, the creatures appeared closer and closer. Ryan slammed his shoulder against the metal door repeatedly. Suddenly, the door burst open by itself and both of them rushed inside. The moment they entered, the door slammed shut behind them. Loud scratching sounds immediately echoed from the other side. Screech! Screech! The passage beyond was narrow and filled with dripping pipes and the smell of rot. Ryan raised his flashlight and carefully moved forward. Old warning signs covered the walls. Authorized personnel only. Level 9 sealed. Jake swallowed nervously. What the hell is level 9? Then somewhere deeper underground, they heard the sound of machinery still running. It sounded like an ancient generator hidden beneath the tunnel. Slowly, they followed the noise until they entered a massive underground chamber. Old monitors covered the walls, flickering with static. But the most horrifying object inside the room was the giant glass chamber standing in the center. Thick black liquid filled the tank completely. Ryan stepped closer and pointed his flashlight inside, and his blood instantly froze. A human body stood motionless inside the chamber. Wires covered its skin while its eyes remained closed. Jake whispered shakily, "Is that thing alive?" Suddenly, every monitor inside the room switched on at once. A distorted recording video appeared through the static. An exhausted scientist stared directly into the camera. Fear filled his face. If anyone is watching this recording, containment has already failed. Ryan listened carefully while the scientist continued speaking. In 2017, we detected a strange signal beneath the subway tunnel. At first, we believed it was some kind of
underground radio frequency, but the signal was alive. The video suddenly distorted violently. Then the scientist whispered in terror. We brought it out, and that was our biggest mistake. Suddenly, behind the scientist, the same white-eyed figure slowly appeared in the darkness. The scientist screamed, and the recording immediately cut out. Silence filled the underground room again. Jake was breathing heavily now. "Ryan, we need to leave." Suddenly, the body inside the glass chamber moved slightly. Both of them froze. Then slowly, the figure's eyes opened completely, glowing pure white. Instantly, the black liquid inside the chamber began boiling violently. Loud alarms exploded throughout the underground facility. Warning! Containment failure. Warning! Containment failure. Jake stumbled backward in panic. Then heavy footsteps echoed from the dark hallway behind them. Thud, thud, thud. The tunnel creatures had reached level 9. Ryan desperately searched for another exit, when his flashlight suddenly revealed large bloody writing, painted across a steel wall. Level 9 is not a place. Before Ryan could even process the message, every light in the chamber suddenly shut off. Only red emergency lights remained glowing through the darkness. Then the scientist's voice echoed once again through hidden speakers. If it wakes up, the entire city will die. At that exact moment, the giant glass chamber exploded outward. Black liquid flooded across the floor while something slowly began rising from inside it. First, a hand appeared, then a face. But it was not human. Its body looked completely made of living darkness, while its glowing eyes burned brighter than anything else in the room. Slowly, the creature turned its head toward Ryan and smiled. At that exact moment, every monitor inside the chamber began flashing the same sentence repeatedly. "It knows you are here." Ryan stepped backward in fear, but suddenly something even worse appeared on his camera screen. On the screen, Jake was standing behind him, even though the real Jake was still directly in front of him. Ryan's heart nearly stopped. Slowly, he turned around, and standing silently in the darkness behind him was another Jake. Same face, same clothes, but its eyes glowed completely white. Then it smiled slowly and whispered, "Do you know why people disappear inside the tunnel?" But the biggest question still remains unanswered. What exactly was Level 9? Why do people suddenly disappear inside the Raven Creek tunnel? And who or what was the second Jake standing behind Ryan in the darkness? Could something ancient and terrifying really be hidden beneath the city? Something humans were never supposed to awaken? In the next part, Ryan will finally uncover the horrifying truth behind the tunnel, and the real reason people are being taken into the darkness. If you want to know what happens next, leave a strong comment below and support this video, so I can continue the next longer and even more terrifying chapter of this story. And if you enjoy creepy paranormal horror stories like this, subscribe to the channel right now, because the next part will be darker, scarier, and far more dangerous.